brought something else home. What we've got here is a Magnaforce by Sanborn, and this thing has sat outside, looks like, for quite a while, and I bought it cheap. The guy I bought it from said he bought a shop and it was in the shop and he doesn't know anything about it. So, you know, who knows? It may work, may not. The only thing, there was, of course, you know, when I got it, it was sitting outside, so I had no way of testing it. My generator does not output 220, so I couldn't have taken it and tested it or anything like that. So, you know, bought it cheap as is, and, you know, we'll see if we can get it to work. It's in decent shape, I would say. From you know, just looking at it, other than it sitting outside, I did make sure it would turn over, and it did. You know, I just got a screwdriver in there and it sounded like the pump was pumping. It's only like you could hear the air moving. I couldn't spin it very fast, you know, spin it slowly. So, you know, if nothing else, what I paid for it, you know, I've got a good tank, and, you know, I could build off from that. But, you know, hopefully at least to either the motor or the compressor is good. You know, if the motor's bad, I'll put a new motor on it. If the compressor's bad, I'll put a new compressor. If they're both bad, you know, I guess I'll have to replace both. But, you know, maybe if the compressor's bad, maybe it can be rebuilt. I don't see any signs, you know, like crack on the side, like it threw a rod or anything like that. And it did turn over, you know, it didn't lock up. So, I'm going to hold out that, you know, maybe it's in good shape and maybe there's nothing wrong with it. One positive thing they did is they did unscrew the drain valve, and so at least the tank hasn't sat with water in it. You know, so hopefully there's no holes in the tank. This seems like a good quality tank. You know, not too thin. You know, it's got, of course, some rust on it from sitting out, but I don't think it's got any holes in it. So I think while, and the pallet is, you know, done. So I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and build a new pallet for it. I just picked up some 2x4 studs. I think 2x4s is fine. It had 2x6s, but I think the 2x4s will be fine. We'll build up a pallet for it, and probably go ahead and run, let's see, we'll figure it out. I'm not sure. I'll probably square it off, run one like this, run one like that, then one there, and I'll probably run another one right here in the middle to help support the weight of this leg, so that this leg is actually sitting on a board that is in contact with the ground. And we'll I don't know, we'll see. I think the 2x4 should be just fine. I bought it not even remembering this was a 2x6, but like I said, I think the 2x4 would be just fine. So we're gonna have to get these old bolts out. I think they'll come out. And I went ahead and bought some stuff while we've got it mounted this way, because we're gonna need to plug this hole anyway to test it. Is Lowe's was completely out of 1/2-inch ball valves. This is a 1/2-inch, and so I was going to do 1/2-inch, but I ended up just getting a reducer. So we'll screw that in there, and then into that we'll screw a 90, and in there we will put this in with a ball valve. And the ball valve will have one of these pointing it back down, so that it, when you do it, it's not spraying water out, it'll spray it straight down. So we'll do that. That way, we can easily get to it to drain it. And yeah. So let me get started. I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt this old pallet, and I'm gonna start making a new pallet for it. Once I get that kind of laid out how I'm gonna want it, I'll be able to tell where I need to have all this pointing to clear the pallet, and I'll go ahead and do that. Once we get those on there, we're gonna go ahead and unload it, and I'm gonna temporarily plug it up. So there's the door to the shop. We're gonna take it in through the door because the Suburban's blocking there, and I've got my boat over here and the Model A's over there. So we're gonna take it through that door. We're gonna have to make sure when we build our pallet that this is 37 inches. I measured this old one, and so we'll have to make sure. I think that door is 36. We'll have to make sure we make the pallet where it's no wider than the doorway when we go through the door with it. But for right now, we're just going to set it by the door. I've got a 50 amp 220 plug right there for my welder. We're going to plug this up to that. It's like I said, it's 5 horse. I don't remember if it's 5 horse, and it's got a 2-stage pump. But we're going to do that so that we can test it right there before we bring it. The compressor's all the way in the back corner. So before we bring it into the shop, we're going to test it to make sure it works. And so I've got a 50 amp plug right here. This is what I have for my welder. Actually, it's not the plug that's on the wall. I've got a little short extension cord that's it's like 6-gauge wire, and that actually has the right plug on it for my welder. Same plug I put on my plasma cutter. I just haven't swapped the plug out on the wall because I already had a cord plug, 1-cord plug for it, and so I just wired it up like that. I normally use the little extension cord anyway. So we've got that. We're going to plug this in. What the bonus of this is in the shop, we're going to put this has got a 30 amp 220 plug on it, and so I actually had a brand new 30 amp 220 plug, wall plug, outlet. So that's what we're gonna swap out. Where my compressor is now, it's got a 20 amp 220 plug that's like this. So we're gonna use this for testing. We'll put this on where I can plug in I plug my welder in, the 50 amp plug, and then I'll wire this up to my 30 amp 220 outlet, and then that will allow us to plug this compressor in. This plug itself, you can switch it to the 50 amp or the 30 amp. The plug is slotted, so we'll repurpose this plug and then put this on it, and this will allow me that if this compressor dies you know, my other compressors, all my other 220 compressors have this style plug. All I got to do is plug my adapter in, and I can plug my other compressor in. So we'll just make a little adapter plug. So that worked out well with this one. Then I've got a switch that I rarely use. My other compressor is on a wall switch, you know, a regular wall switch like this, but I don't remember, I don't think it's a 30 amp. I doubt we put a 30 amp wall switch. We may have, but I went ahead and picked up one because if it's not, I think it's a 20 amp. If it's not, we'll need to swap it out for this 30 amp. This compressor actually does not have a switch on it, and I like to cut the power. My other one actually has a switch on here. I like to cut the power off at night just in case, you know, we had a line blowout somewhere. You know, we're not leaking and it running the compressor all the time. So we're gonna go ahead and since this one's got no plug on it, we'll make sure we swap this wall switch out where we can get in there and I can just flip the switch off. But so 30 amp wall plug, and let me go get this other outlet. Alright, so here's the plug they already had. You can see it's brand new. It's still got some plastic right there. It was left over from the molding. Oh, you know what I just saw? This says 30 amp. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is 30 amp. Okay. Our welder's 50 amp. So we'll use this plug. The outlet box I have where my other plug is for the compressor is a small box, and this is a tight fit in a small box. So instead of trying to jam that in there, I like to have a lot of room. We're going to swap the box out for that one, and this plug will mount right in there, attached with those screws, and it gives us plenty of room to you know, connect our wires. You know, I don't like having to jam wires in a really tight spot. So, and of course some new carriage bolts. And I like to grab extra when I go, extra washers, extra nuts, to stock my supply that I try to keep. So it's one of all the extras. So let's get busy, and I'm debating, I might go ahead and put 2x6s across here. I don't know. I'll look and see. If I put 2x6s across here, the bottom runs that go on the floor, I'll use the 2x4s, but the ones that are supporting the cross weight that the compressor actually bolts to, I may use 2x4. I have some old, you know, some little scrap boards that I could use, like this one. So we might do that, we might not, I don't know. Or we may just go ahead and just use these new ones, new 2x4s. Anyway, let me get started, and we'll pick up after I've got this thing mounted, and then we'll need to unload it. And it looks like we're gonna have a hole right here that we'll have to plug to test this thing out, see if it builds pressure. I'll have to see if I got a plug right there. I didn't notice that. I think if I can get that out, it's a broken off fitting, I'm sure. If I can get that out, I can just thread a new coupler, and if I can't, I can probably get it out with a I've got an extractor, so we'll see if we can get that out, and we'll just put a regular coupler on there. But yeah, this thing, you know, it's got a true 5-horse motor on it. You know, it's not one of the, like my big compressor, the oilless, that's needs rebuilding again. It says it's got a 6-horsepower motor, but it only draws 15 amps. Well, this is a 5-horsepower motor, and it draws 23 amps. So that 6 horsepower is more like a 3 horsepower. So anyway, let's get busy. Oh, and this thing has an 80-gallon tank. So like I said, you know, if all this turns bad, I've got a good 80-gallon tank. So, and the motor itself, even though it's been sitting out, it looks pretty clean down inside. So, you know, it doesn't look too bad. Hopefully, you know, maybe if there is something wrong with it, maybe it's just capacitor, something like that, easy fix. So once we set it up, you know, we'll check the oil in it. It's got a little sight glass on the side. I couldn't see through it before, so we'll probably have to pull the little filler and see if we can see down in there and maybe clean up that sight glass and where we can see it. But, yeah. I haven't been able to find a model number on this thing yet to look it up. I don't know what the CFM is yet on it, so I would assume it's quite a bit. You know, it doesn't have the CFM on here, and I can't read the model up here. So, and I haven't found a model number on the compressor itself, you know, stamped in it, or a manufacturer. So, I don't know if Sanborn makes their own. So, yeah, it looks pretty beefy. See, you can't really see through that sight glass. So, hopefully it doesn't have water in it or anything like that.